UFC 316, and we are, it's among us. We're here. We're looking right down the barrel of it. JK and I here live giving you the full breakdown for what's coming up this very weekend. You're not going to want to miss it. Now, there's several fights in this card. We're talking about a 5-fight card with 2 title bouts. That's going to be the women's bantamweight. And of course, Sean O'Malley is back again to face his nemesis, which is Dvalishvili, who's currently holding the title as well. So it's been quite an energetic and exciting fight week. It's one where we kind of get to see, someone go back at it, do it again, but then also we get to see finally Kayla Harrison get her hands on what could potentially be the biggest moment of her life. And that could mean subsequently quite a few exciting things down the line in terms of the state of the UFC, but we'll get into that in a moment. JK, what's your thoughts on this upcoming card? How are you ranking it out of 10? And let's give the guys a warm welcome.
That's right, we are back on the breakdown once again after a lackluster May for fight fans. Who would have known that Jack Della Maddalena versus Bilal Muhammad was the fight of the month? And of course, this past weekend went down pretty poorly, but June is promised to be stacked, and it kicks off with this epic fight card that we've got in place. Couldn't have said it any better, really. Overall, I think I gave the rating a 7.7 or 7.8, either one of those, to be honest. A few exciting things. Kevin Holland returning after a great win at UFC London. Patchy mix, a lot of questions surrounding him. Former Bellator bantamweight champion, stepping in against a rising contender in the UFC's bantamweight division in Mario Bautista. Joe Pyfer is heavy hitting as always, but he's got a tough test ahead of him. Like you said, Kayla Harrison gets her shot at gold finally. And then, of course, the rematch between Merab Dvalishvili and Sean O'Malley. Pumped for it, man. Cannot wait.
Man, look, it's all going on. It's all kicking off. And we got a little special guest on a bit later as well, so you guys are going to see him. Who's managed to spend some time recording with him last week, and we're going to do some more later this week as well. But he's got some particular strong, controversial opinions, in my opinion, for what's coming up.
It's a big take. It's a big take.
So stick around for that when we get to the co-main and main event. It is a UFC fighter giving talks and comments on a UFC fighter, and that's what I like about this show. We can get the fighters to tell you how it is. All right, cool. So I think we should probably get right into it. We're going to be looking down the barrel of all of these. You can do some of the guest chats, and I'll get ready. The first
Breezy in the house. The past 6 months has gone down pretty poorly. I mean, wow, that's pretty. Wow, that's harsh. If you ask me. I mean, you could say that was I can't do maths to tell you. 6 months, January. I can't think of what kicked it off January, but yeah. Welcome on in, Breezy. Welcome on in. Good to see you. Good to see you.
See you. Very good, man. He thought the last 6 months went down really badly on events.
No,
it's pretty strong. I think it's pretty strong. For those of you guys who are new to this, of course, this is a full breakdown of the card, but also for you guys on Twitter, you'll be seeing the gauges right there. We will be breaking down striking, grappling, strength, cardio, and speed when we're looking at each of these fighters to find out where the advantages lie. So we don't tell you what to think, we teach you how to think, and we also have a take from a UFC fighter himself later on the event. So I guess without further ado, we're looking right down the barrel of the welterweight division, and it's Luque Fiasco up against the Kevin Holland. And as you rightly said, he's coming in blazing after his recent success over in London. And his record for the red corner is 23-10-1. And you got veterans here because in the blue corner it's a 27-13-0-1 no contest as well. Now, we haven't seen Vicente Luque for a minute, have we? It's been about a year or so.
No, since December. Themba Gorimbo was his last win, Anaconda choke, 52 seconds into the fight, which I thought was very impressive for Luque. They clearly threw him a fight, somebody to make a name off of him in Themba Gorimbo. If those who don't know who he is, he's the guy that The Rock gave a house to. I believe in a piece of content. Yes, that's right. And he was probably lined up to beat Luque that night, but Luque shut the door on him straight away.
Yeah.
Now he's against the Kevin Holland, who is always active.
Yeah.
Kevin in his pretty much the same boat as Luque in a lot of ways, because a lot of people ruled him out against Gunnar Nelson back in March.
Yeah.
Good night.
Yeah. But it's been they're both quite active though, because also for Vicente Luque, he fought twice last year as well. So that was in a span of 1 year. Yeah, it's around 3 times thereabouts. So March last year was the last time he fought. Okay, yeah. So yeah, although it was a loss against Joaquin Buckley, and then of course, as you know, Kevin Holland is always active. You're right, yeah. Well, what's your thoughts on this? And these guys are going up against each other stylistically. You got strikers. You got someone who's pretty, I want to say defensive heavy, but the last time we've seen Vicente Luque get pieced up and just get caught, he's quite stubborn in his striking. Once he kind of finds a rhythm, it's difficult to change. And once you got his number, then you can probably just ride it home. But other than that, he's got a chin and a lot of durability. Luque, do you think Kevin Holland's got the hands to put him out?
Oh, absolutely. He's got the range, and I quite like Kevin Holland at welterweight, and I've expressed this enough, to be honest. And he proved us all wrong in that Gunnar Nelson fight, as I said before. Usually he falls short against people who can wrestle, people who can kind of grapple, and just people who are just physically stronger than he is. And it's the reason why I didn't quite like him at middleweight any longer. I'm glad that he made the cut. Gunnar Nelson has got excellent grappling, high level grappling, but in my opinion, I think Luque is a similar fight to him, to Gunnar and Nelson, in my opinion, in terms of like how good they are as a grappler. Of course, striking wise, they're both completely different. But look, Kevin Holland could very well go in there and get the TKO win against Luque. I think that's what I'm leaning on so far in the night, unless Luque can put some wrestling together, because he's not really known, I think, for his wrestling. He's quite an opportunistic type of grappler, as we saw in previous fights, like Michael Chiesa, where he wrapped up that barber choke.
He's got on paper, he's got
absolutely
the accolade.
Yeah,
well, I mean, so does Kevin Holland, to be fair, but we don't see it.
yeah. Kevin prefers to strike. That's what he thrives on most. But yeah, I think on the feet it will be quite a bit of a chess match. If it hits the ground, who knows? I'm not too sure personally.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. So that's it. And third appearance this year for Kevin Holland. It's been 1 win, 1 loss, but let's see if he can correct or continue an upward trajectory on this one as well. What do you reckon in terms of, if we get over to the gauges and see how this matches up in terms of the striking and the speed and who gets the advantages for what parts? I do that.
I think striking wise, I'll give Kevin Holland.
Okay.
Grappling wise, I'd probably give Vicente Luque. He's got some slick submissions on his resume, 9 wins, although he's got 11 TKO victories. So his hands are pretty decent as well. But I still give the striking edge, I think, to Kevin Holland. I think his way he uses range and that kind of wiry power that he's got, I think, will be a bit of a problem. So for that case, I'd give Holland power as well. Speed wise, a little bit of a toss up, really. You got Luque, he's probably a lot older. Oh no, he's only 33. I thought Luque was a lot older than that.
Yeah, because he's been around for like ever.
He's only a year older than Kevin Holland. So, and fighting wise, I think Holland's probably a lot quicker on the feet, even though he's come down from middleweight. So I'll probably give speed to Holland. Cardio is where it's going to be a bit tricky, in my opinion. I'm not kind of sure who I'd give the edge to on that one. You've got Luque on one hand. He's got, I think, 9, been to decision 9 times. Kevin Holland is gone to a decision.
So let's have it again in terms of
12 times. So, actually, I wouldn't have thought that from Kevin Holland. He's normally a finish or get finished type of guy.
Yeah, feast or famine largely. Was it?
Yeah, and he's gone 5 rounds a couple of times.
I just talking at the remote for this, but it was power for Holland and speed for Holland. Yeah. powerful
Yes.
Luque. All right. And then cardio-wise, I think we go Luque, right?
Yeah, I'll probably give Luque that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when you think about the weight cut for Kevin Holland. He's very disciplined in doing it. Props to him for it. But he does cut quite a considerable amount come fight night, of course. That's going to take a bit of a toll on it. So I'd probably give it, Luque the edge in cardio.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. And just looking at some of those notable wins, RDA, he's a heavily grappling style. To be fair, Michael Chiesa, I kind of find, he's fallen on tough years and some as of late, hasn't he, Vicente Luque? He's really fallen.
Yeah,
on
the
some
Jeff
years.
Neal fight was a hard one to watch.
Yeah,
Buckley, of course, absolute powerhouse.
Yeah,
TKO by Buckley. Then, and he's also had some fights fall through as well. Nick Diaz twice scheduled that didn't materialize last year. He was meant to fight Sean Brady at one point. That was Brady pulled out that time around. He was meant to fight Ian Machado. Gary pulled out at that time. So he's been a bit unfortunate in the last sort of year or so. But at least we got to see him twice.
Yeah, I reckon if it comes down to this fight, I'll probably be siding with Kevin Holland on the night. It looks like it's favorably on paper anyway. It certainly looks like it's favoring him, doesn't it? Looking at that.
Yeah, I like I said, I like Holland at welterweight. That power comes through.
It could hinge on whether Luque can close a distance, to be fair, or if Holland's able to keep it at range. I think that could probably depend on who's going to take the fight. It could be down to that. But outside that, I do think
Holland's fallen short against specialists. You know, at welterweight he's lost to Michael Venom Page, Jack Della Maddalena, two specialist strikers, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, another specialist in karate. Then you've got Hamzat Shemaev. Was that actually a catchweight? Yeah, it was catchweight. Hamzat missed weight, didn't he?
But that was. I remember that very clearly.
Special. So against people who can mix up things quite well, Holland shines through. So I'll give him the win. Yeah,
I like that. All right, let's get the next fight up on the card then, and see how this tallies together. If I press this, any chats that you can shout on out? Yeah.
Yes, George Murray. Good evening, good sir. Where are you in the world? Are you on your way back home, or are you already at home? Are you tuning in? Let us know. And got to hear your predictions as well for this weekend. So get those in the chat.
Let's fire them on over. Just probably so I can copy them. I'm kidding. You can hear all my picks here live as we go through it. Next up, we've got Patchy Mix and Mario Bautista. Now, interesting fact on this one, Mix, of course, we all know, don't we? He signed to the UFC and he's actually been booked his first fight on the card tonight. And it's actually less than a month after his release from PFL. That was back in May, since he stepped on in. And he's actually done it to replace Marlon Vera, who was supposed to fight on this card. But this has been a bit of a last-minute change. For Patchy Mix, he's 19-1, so an absolute prospect. He's straight hot out of PFL. And then you got Mario Bautista, who's 14-2. And, I think this is quite an interesting one I want to throw over to you, JK, in terms of what's going to happen here and how it's going to plan out. Do you think it's a wise first fight for Patchy Mix to take on short notice? Or do you think he's kind of setting himself up a little bit for a tricky, rough road in the UFC?
No, I think it's a good option for him. I mean, on 3 weeks' notice, however, is quite questionable in terms of talent. I don't think so at all. You know, when you look at his resume, sorry, I'm just going to get up the 316 thing again.
Sure.
You look at his resume. The last guy he fought was actually the guy in Magomedov.
Yeah.
He was before when Peter Yan went on that mad run towards the belt. He was the only guy that Peter Yan had lost to, right? Patchy Mix beat him twice. He choked him out the first time, went to a split decision, which was his last fight. Was a very close fight, I'd give him that. But stylistically, I think he's a worse matchup than Mario Bautista, in my opinion.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I honestly do. And all right, okay. his rear naked choke win against Sergio Pettis to win the belt. Sergio Pettis, very skilled striker. Would I put him on par with Mario Bautista? Maybe, perhaps. There's a few things that kind of strike me out, which are going to cause Mick some problems. Is probably the pace that Bautista puts on, his ability to kind of mix things up, switch stances, and his overall speed, I would say. Mick's striking wise, well, his grappling shines, right? He's definitely got the grappling head in this. We'll get to the gauges in just a sec. But he's going to be a bit more calculated on the feet. So for me, the way I see this fight going, it's either Patchy Mix is going to get the submission, or Mario Bautista could very well pick up a decision. Now, I want to read something out because I discovered this whilst doing.
Is it from Mix?
I was preparing for this. No, it's from Mix. He said it, I think, via MMA Junkie. It was a quote from him, which I think really shows his confidence. He said, "I'm an effing 3-time world champion. This guy is a journeyman fighter. I will F him up. I'll submit him, and I'll submit whoever is teaching him jiu-jitsu." And I think that was quality, to be honest.
You got to have that kind of backing, don't you? Especially when you're coming in these circumstances. But also, I want to highlight the fact that this guy's coming fresh off of the press from PFL. And you know the UFC love to put PFL fighters up against absolute dog killers in there, just to kind of, express to the world their dominance. Pitbull, for example. Coming straight off the press from PFL, the UFC want to kind of put him up to a challenge, which makes them helps remind them that UFC is superior.
It's a win-win for the UFC. If they lose, then it's like, well, look, that was PFL's best guy. If they win, it's like, well, they get a new contender, right, and a new buzz. And I think Patchy Mix is coming into the bantamweight division at such a good time, in my opinion, because you've got Merab, who's the champion. If he beats Sean O'Malley again, the only fight for him inside that top part of that division that he's not fought is Corey Sanhagen.
Yeah.
Once he's done with that, then what's next? So I think this is a right time, and it's probably a right time for both guys. However, I feel that it depends how Mario Bautista goes about this fight, because I think fight fans have still got a bit of a taste in their mouth from his last fight against Jose Aldo, where people felt that he was stalling towards the third round.
He didn't
really. But
he
needs to really come out and prove something to the fight fans, in my opinion. Prove that he can make a strive for that top part of that division.
Agreed. I think there's a good. I like that take that you said. Win-win for the UFC. We do need more prospects in this division. We do need to see some people coming through. And that's a big if, though. If Sean O'Malley wins. If Sean O'Malley doesn't win, Dvalishvili's got a lot to do, to hold down his crown. And it's a very different picture. Although actually saying that again, he has also run through some of the best people in the division. I'm always
even like on his route up to the belt. He's beaten most of them guys, so it's just be then.
He was constantly just waiting around for his opportunity, wasn't he? And he couldn't advance as quickly because his teammate was holding the belt for a while. So he's done a fair bit. This division does need some new talent. I fully agree with you on that. But I strongly do think Mix could potentially come in here and overestimate an absolute dangerous killer in Bautista. It sounded like it when I read that post. I thought, okay, like this guy's confident. And that confidence kind of struck me as a little bit arrogant as well. So I was hesitant to say, okay, do you know what I mean? Be careful. But let's get over to the gauges. We've got some chats there, whacking one up too. But
as we head on over to that, George Murray said Merab, Kayla, Patchy, Pyfer, Holland, and you know what? I think I'm leaning towards that as well. I think, I feel, although there could be an upset if Gastelum beats Pyfer, I think that's probably fight I'm a bit I mean that and the Kevin Holland Luque fight, I think it's quite close. George Mary also says, I'm situated on my Mrs. mine and Mrs. sofa. Kids going to bed, then back to mum's. Big day tomorrow if you follow the socials. Okay, I will keep tabs on that, brother. He says, after the Aldo fight, Patchy Mix is running his hands. Yeah.
And running his mouth. He does both, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's have a look at speed. Who's going to get that advantage then? Is it going to be Bautista or Mix? I want to say Bautista.
Yeah, I do feel like he's just an edge. Of course, Mix is going to be, like I said, more calculated on the feet. He throws fast, but I just feel like the overall footwork from Bautista, the way he's able to kind of put a load of combinations together in such quick succession, give him speed.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. And striking though?
Striking's a tough one. Like I said, it's going to be volume over precision. Yeah, Patchy Mix does a really good job at attacking the lead leg.
You said we'll give him grappling, didn't we?
Yeah, I definitely give Mix grappling in that. Got smooth. He's like Aljamain Sterling, smooth at taking the back. Bit of a submission artist. Bautista. I actually kind of want to give.
It's difficult to look at the what the UFC stats in this, of course, because got an absolute new entrant there. But yeah, significant strikes, 47%, landed 5.33. This is for Bautista, of course. It's hard to go with what you think on paper, but ultimately we've got to decide on who do you have the most confidence in.
Yeah, I mean, could you put it down to the Bautista is on a slight edge because of his volume, and landing 5.33 significant strikes per minute, whereas Mix kind of throws a lot less output.
Yeah,
more of a heavy approach.
I think 5.33 is a good output. Power. Yeah, I would say Bautista on striking and power. I'll probably go Bautista as well.
Ooh.
If we look at wins by KO, got 20% of his wins come by knockout with Bautista and only 13 for Patrick Mix. He's more of your submission guy. So because of his want and willingness to submit and take the fight to the ground, I think on paper it doesn't really serve him. Although I do think he's still dangerous with those hands. It seems to me like he doesn't really opt in for that as well as a way of victory. So yeah, I'll go Bautista on power.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you guys think in the chats as well?
Yeah. Very interesting.
I will go with Mix on cardio though.
Oh, you want to Patchy Mix on cardio?
Yeah. I think it could be wins by decision. It's all submissions largely. Usually it's the grappling guy who's got a better cardio edge. But what would you think? Do you want to go? You go Bautista?
I'm almost inclined to do that. Yeah, I mean, just because Bautista's able to put on that high volume for quite a duration. I know we've seen Mix go 5 rounds, so it's that against Patchy Mix, who's in those 5-round fights been able to slow the fight down to his kind of pace. What I've seen, of course, I don't really watch too much of his Bellator fights. Just the last 2. Ash is in the house. He says Bautista decision. Damn. I hope not. I really hope not. I actually hope that Patchy Mix gets the win.
I kind of think it would be Bautista too. I just kind of
Ash reckons Bautista cardio. Yeah.
It would put cardio on Bautista then, but that really does create a landslide, doesn't it? It makes us wonder really what does Patrick Mix have to offer? What can he throw into the mix? I guess in order to turn the table more in his favor. It doesn't look like the odds stack at all in his favor. Looking at that,
yeah,
but you still think he can get it done? Explain that.
Patchy. Well, it depends if Patchy is able to get it down to the ground, and I do feel like he might take advantage in the scrambling. If Bautista comes in wanting to clinch against the cage again, then it's down to Mix to find a way to get the fight to the ground from that position and just kind of, I guess, outmuscle him in a way. Whereas Aldo, on the other hand, just kind of waited. His takedown defense was always going to be there. And Bautista didn't look like he wanted to take him down either. That's the thing. He just stalled. He did stall. It's obvious.
Yeah, a lot of people were not big fans of him after that fight.
No.
But
and I don't think Patchy's going to let him do that. I feel like Patchy might try to pull guard, having watched the previous tape from that fight, and then find a way to at least either take the back or sink in a triangle choke or something like that.
Yeah, okay, fair take. On the night, I reckon I'll be
Bautista 66% takedown defense. So, yeah, is it going to come from a slip up from Bautista,
or is it going to come from excellence from Patchy? But look, I would side with the fact that I would love Patchy to get the job done. I think that would be great for the UFC, but also, I kind of like the idea of him being able to step on in and just be at that one of the next contenders in the division. But I just think the UFC got a knack for setting these PFL guys up for failure, and I think this could be just another one of those things. Pitbull, for example, is just another one you can look at. We'll just clear the chats down, and we'll get on to the next fight up on the card. Fight number 3.
Gosh.
We have it. Yeah. So
I'm hoping Patchy mix submission. I'll take rear naked choke.
Yeah, fair.
Or guillotine.
I usually like to have a look at the odds on these things as well as we go through them. And I wonder what the odds were here. I think it's because last minute it's not showing here on the page, but I do believe Bautista is a favorite on this as well. Anyway, the UFC has not recorded it yet. But let's get into the next fight up. We're looking down the barrel of the middleweight division. It's Kelvin Gastelum, and he's up against Joe Pyfer. Interesting fact on this one, the fight was rescheduled for UFC 316 after cancellations, ensuring that the main card retained kind of its fan-friendly appeal, if you like. So you got the likes of Kelvin Gastelum, a huge veteran of the game. He's been around for ages. He's 19-9. Former welterweight contender, of course, and he's now found a home in the middleweight division. And he's going to be striking up against Joe Pyfer, who's 13-3, a rising middleweight. So Pyfer is powerful with his striking. He's got knockout potential, and his grappling defense has been exposed in some of his losses, if you've seen them before as well. So we know a bit both there. What's your thoughts on this one, then, JK? Have you liked Kelvin at the middleweight weight class? And do you think he's going to be keeping an upward climb whilst here? Or do you think the end of his career is coming soon?
Here's what my standpoint on this fight, right, is Kelvin Gastelum did Daniel Rodriguez dirty in that last one because he didn't even try to cut the weight down to middleweight, right? He done him dirty. He forced him into a catchweight bout and then just overpowered him, right? So I want to see him get punished. Joe Pyfer is one of the scariest hitters in the UFC, period. So I want to see him knock out Kelvin Gastelum big time. However, Kelvin Gastelum has never been knocked out.
Yeah.
And he's fought some absolute killers in his run in the UFC. Of course, he had a tough war against Israel Adesanya, probably arguably Israel's toughest 5-round fights to date, right? So he's got the fight IQ there, I believe, to cause Pyfer some problems. Pyfer fell short against Jack Hermansson a few fights ago. Hermansson is a veteran of the game. He's been in the UFC for a long time. He fell short, had to rack up wins to get to this position now. So there's a lot riding on this fight, in my opinion.
I'd say. Yeah. First of all, let's find out if Kelvin can make weight. This
is middleweight. I mean, who knows? Look, Kelvin Gastelum is the type of guy too, and I'm sure he's done it before. I think he has done it before, right? To miss weight at welterweight, and then the next fight he moves up to middleweight and misses weight at middleweight. He is that type of guy. He's a bit undisciplined, and for that reason, I want Joe Pyfer to knock him clean in round 1.
Yeah. Do you prefer him here at middleweight or welterweight? I mean, do you reckon he will go back to welterweight?
No, I can't see it. No. I mean, he looked okay in the Sean Brady fight. You know,
you also got to consider the fact that it was Sean Brady. You know, you kind of got to consider the fact that you can't really change your whole career trajectory on that loss. given he is who he is.
Yeah, for sure. But he's fell short. He went on a horrible run, didn't he? When he lost to Israel, Darren Till, Jack Manson, then he beat Ian Heinisch, then lost to Robert Whittaker, Jerry Cannonier. So that was a dreadful run.
He had a couple he had a wired out as well, wasn't he? He was not the most active of fighters at all.
No. There's a lot of... He was meant to fight Drickus and Imov at one point, but they were cancelled bouts. Bro's literally like a pull-out merchant. He beat Chris Curtis, who is a former welterweight as well. In fact, Curtis is going back down to welterweight now, I believe.
I feel like that should have been a fight Chris won.
Yeah, that was controversial.
It was. I thought Chris Curtis should have had that one.
Yeah. And then now he's fighting Joe Pyfer. So I don't know. We'll see what Kelvin can bring.
Yeah. He's well rounded. He's skilled. I think Pyfer's just got that raw power, hasn't he? And aggression. And I think it's a great call that you put in there, to be fair. I would love to see Kelvin Gastelum get knocked out. It's never happened before, so look, who knows? This could be the time. I wonder what the odds would be on that happening, to be fair. And I think a lot of fighters have had time to prepare for this one, because as I say, it was rescheduled. It was due to happen, I think. I can't remember what event it was previously, but they kept it to a pay-per-view card, so 316, of course, and they're going to be delivering some heat. I, for one, think that Gastelum is going to be exhibiting some wrestling in this. I know we don't often see too much of it, but I think he's probably going to want to mitigate that power and being standing opposite Pyfer. So you're going to see clinches against the cage. I reckon it could be controversial. I reckon it might be boring. I think Gastelum will be the one to make it a boring fight, and we're going to have reason to hate him even more.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, I think the X factor heading into this fight is probably fight IQ. Kelvin's the type of guy who's going to be doing the right things to slow Pyfer down, disrupt his rhythm. Don't let him land his shots, and drag it down to the ground and make him work.
This could be a good fight for Pyfer, though, to show the UFC brasses that he's ready for top tier. I mean, Gastelum's a name.
It'd be key.
He's a name, and if Pyfer can put him away, then look, his stock's going to go up, I think, after this one.
Because Pyfer's not actually in the rankings anymore, is he?
No.
I don't think he is. Or no.
Is he ranked? He's not ranked.
Yeah, middleweight's kind of been all over the place at the moment. I mean, and a win here doesn't really...
I don't know if it's Gastelum either, to
put him back in necessarily, unless the UFC are going to take someone out. But yeah, I think he would then deserve another fight against a ranked opponent. After that, you've got a few matchups booked. Of course, we'll go through this in the Aftermath show next week as well. You've got Gregory Rodriguez is going to be taking on Jack Hermansson. You've got Roman Kopylov is going to be taking on Paulo Costa. So either of those are like a loss away from fighting Joe Pyfer should he beat Kelvin this weekend.
Yeah, well, no, I'd say so. Joe Pyfer has fought Jack Hermansson before already. His fight prior to this one, he actually lost to him. I think something about the way Jack Hermansson frustrated him brought an absolute fire in Joe Pyfer when he came in the next time and knocked out Marc-Andre Barrios in the first round. Yeah, he was almost like, right, screw this, I'm not going to wait no more. So I like to think he learned the lessons he needed to learn in Jack Hermansson. I think those lessons are going to be just as important here when he goes up against like a Kelvin Gastelum, who's also going to try bring strategy into mitigating the risk of standing opposite that power. So let's have a look at the gauges then and see what the chats are saying also. But let's find out. Okay. Let's find out who we're going to be having on this fight 3 on the fight card. Striking. Who's going to get the advantage there? Are we both thinking Pyfer?
Difficult. Kelvin's got some good boxing. He's good at getting in on the inside, and
I'll put power on really Pyfer. I'll give it. I'll go straight down for that one. But
so if you got for a technical aspect, you might want to say Kelvin. Power's obviously going to be Pyfer.
Grappling, we could go Kelvin on that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Speed,
100%.
I want to go Pyfer on speed. He's got. It's just a bit longer.
Potentially.
I think it's just because he's a bit longer. But let's do it still. And then you want to give striking to Gastelum, do you reckon? I'm going to need some help from the chats here. What do you guys think?
Yeah, striking is a difficult one, really. Cardio wise as well. I mean, yeah, I think I'd edge Gastelum cardio. It might be a bit controversial. But,
I don't believe.
I mean, look,
I don't believe
middleweight Kelvin Gastelum has gone 5 rounds before. He's able to mix things up. So I can see cardio being.
What do we know about Pyfer?
Pyfer, we don't really know too much.
Yeah, to say really. That he's not going to have cardio, we really got to be offensively.
He knocks people dead.
Yeah,
in round 1. So, yeah.
Chris Curtis was
Kelvin
a 3 round.
Surely for boxing outboxed our boy Chris Curtis, and that's Even though it was controversial fight, could have gone to Chris Curtis by decision. He did look really good with his hands against Chris. So yeah,
he did.
I like that. The decision made.
It's true. It's quite funny you going Calvin Gastelum for cardio, but it's that kind of grit, isn't it? It's that Mexican grit. Although he's not fighting out Mexico, is he? United States, but he seems to have some kind of grit, and it's that kind of it's those fights that he's had before, those wars that he's gone through, which looks like he's got cardio. He just doesn't quit. He doesn't give up. And we do know he's able to do those 5-fight round wars, as you say. So,
Pyfer, on the other hand, because we've not really seen him. I mean, I can't remember the Jack Hermansson fight too much. I know Jack probably ran away from him.
He definitely know he did.
But Pyfer, we've not really seen him on his back in danger too often.
No.
However, he does train with Sean Brady, and he's from Philly, and they're pretty tough as well. So part of me thinks maybe he can hang in there on the ground with Kelvin and maybe get back to his feet.
Yeah.
Lay hands, continue to throw heavy power. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I'll have to go back and look at it, but I think back in Dana White's Contender Series as well, the last time you really see him struggle is always just in those takedown scenarios before he's able to get back up and get a knockout. But so I just trust if I'm gassed him, I'm taking this fight long. I'm going to really test his grit in the 3rd round, and I'm going to be holding him against the cage for most of it too. Now, I hope Gastelum doesn't get his way, because if he does, then we're all in for quite a boring pre-Coco main event. And I think we deserve much more than that. So let's go Pyfer. On this fight, I'm going to go for Pyfer for this one. I reckon I'll side with him for the win. On striking, we didn't actually put it down in the sheet. I forgot to, but whether we give it to Pyfer or Gastelum, I like Pyfer's chances for it.
Yeah, I kind of like Kelvin. I just think Pyfer just needs one shot, really.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that happens. I'm picking Pyfer on the night.
Love that. All right, so Pyfer's locked in, and that's how we're going to go. In that case, we'll look at the next fight up on the card. So I'll give this a quick scroll down, and we are at the co-main event already. All right, so you guys at home have been waiting. If you're on TikTok, hi, welcome on in. Do subscribe. We've just got into the co-main event for UFC 316. Then we've got the main event to come as well. But we also got a special guest in this one. A special guest who's spent some time with us last week. We saw some of his training, we saw some of his activities he's been up to, but he's also had a couple of opinions for this co-main event. So without further ado, I'm just going to hear what he had to say, and then I'm going to come right back to JK for his hot takes on Peña versus Kayla Harrison. Let's have a look.
Julianna Peña versus Kayla Harrison for the bantamweight title. Off the top of the dome, who gets it?
I would say Peña, actually. I mean, a lot of people are leaning towards Kayla Harrison, obviously with the wrestling, and again, just the really insane pressure sort of style. But Peña, she's tough, man. Like I say, she slings bombs out, I know, and she puts herself in awkward positions and manages to get out. So I feel like that type of style, where it's a bit unconventional, will be difficult for Harrison.
All right, and we back. So he thinks it's a bit unconventional for Kayla Harrison. I told you, controversial take. He's gone with Peña on this one, thinking that, you know, she's taken down the Lioness before. And we got to really look back at that fight and find out whether it was her prowess and skill that took the title from Peña, or was it her kind of complacency and reluctance to take her seriously that kind of led to her demise. And then we've got to look at someone like Kayla Harrison, who's clearly still hungry, and find out whether she's got what it takes to keep this from her, and she's been waiting for so long. But then we all know what we want to happen, because I think, and I want to get your take on this as well, JK, you know, we have heard the Lioness herself even teasing the idea of coming back to the UFC, and if she does, this will be the fight she comes back for. Are you still accepting this fight, 3 or so years on? Or you think it's time's passed? Or are you still hot for it?
No, I'm still hot for it, absolutely. You know, I think Amanda Nunes coming back does give you questions, really. Should she have stayed retired? You know, what's she been doing this whole time? You're going to get ring rust, etc. Whilst Kayla Harrison's been striving towards gold. Flip side, you got Julianna Peña, who is a big underdog heading into this, but she's been in this scenario before, you know, the first time around against Amanda Nunes, and she proved doubters wrong. And we could see it again. We could. You know, who knows? It is going to be a question of Harrison's strength and ability to kind of control fights against maybe Julianna Peña's endurance, should we say, and some of the technical striking that she's got in her locker as well. So it is an exciting fight. Part of me feels that this is Kayla Harrison's time, that she was destined to capture gold, and when she does, then yeah, it'll open up the doors for an Amanda Nunes fight, super fight, because that's what the UFC wanted to make years ago. However, if Julianna Peña gets the upset, then you got to think, well, then what's next? Julianna Peña is going to try and still get Amanda Nunes out of retirement, but the fight doesn't really sell. For me, Julianna Peña has got to go out there and stop Kayla Harrison in order to get on the mic and even try and entice Amanda Nunes out of retirement. Because if I'm Amanda Nunes, I'm like, well, look, okay, yes, you beat me the first time around, but I absolutely whooped you for 5 rounds that second time around.
Yeah,
and
that was
painful
to see.
Rematch from after that. So you got to do a hell of a lot
to
get me out.
Peña's not going to do it, you're right. But Kayla Harrison could. And we need her to as well. I'm thinking, where would you want that fight to happen? I'll take the Sphere. Run that at the Sphere.
Well,
but in that case, it'll be next year, and it might be.
No, I don't believe the UFC are going to return to the Sphere. I think it's a one and done.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
It was so good. It was so good. It was the highest revenue-attaining event since McGregor Aldo back in 2000.
I don't know. It also cost a lot of money to run.
Yeah, but
like it was a hell of a lot of money, and it was a far less amount of people in the arena.
No, it's true. They made the most money, but I don't think it was the most margin. That makes sense.
No,
that's true. Ticket prices were high, and they did cost a lot too. And those screens were epic. But how often would they do it? Once a year? No, that'd probably be far too frequent.
Yeah, and because I mean the fight card itself showed how cost effective it was. Because of course we had Merab versus O'Malley, but the rest of it was like a fight night. So you know,
yeah. All right, so here we are, Peña versus Kayla Harrison. We can get in some of the gauges. I think I didn't run through the numbers on this one, but you guys can see it here on the screen. 13-5 in the red corner, and then you've got your oh, my eye's gone terribly bad at this point. 10-1 in the blue corner. She's only lost once. That's 18-1. Sorry, my eyes are just giving away on me. But she's a 2-time Olympian as well. Olympic judo gold medalist and former PFL champion. So, yeah, when you kind of compare that next to Peña, what was her accolade? She was the first mother champion. You know, it kind of dwarfed a bit, isn't it? First champion.
Really?
It's like
is that really a thing?
Yeah. She was the first champion in UFC who was a mum. And then it's like, oh, well, isn't that interesting?
I really give it a thought, really. Waited this long for it.
Yeah, I know it took ages to get there.
Think about the list of champions. I'm thinking off the top of my head. I'm like, yeah, definitely has not got a kid. Definitely not got a kid.
Yeah.
Definitely like you think of like Joanna and Jay Chet, your Rose Namajunas, your Carlos Bar, etc. I'm like, yep.
Then you got Kayla Harrison coming through, and she's like 2-time Olympic judo gold medalist, former PFL champion. She stepped into the UFC 2-0 record after beating an absolute legend in Holly Holm as well at UFC 300. And a decision over Caitlin Vera. Like she's doing the most. She's decorated. And then you got Peña, who's like, yeah, I'm a mum and I got a gold medal.
Brother B in the house is good afternoon. JK inside. Good afternoon, Brother B.
What's up,
wherever you
Brother
are
B?
watching at the moment. What's your thoughts on this co-main event? And let us know some of your predictions for the main card for this weekend's UFC 316. Be good to share with everybody. Ash says Modi is massive. Haha, Modi gone Peña. Ooh, yeah, a bit of a shocking one, that one.
Yeah. I think he's just pointing out to us that we kind of underestimate her because, of course, you know, JK, you made a very strong point. She's been in this scenario before, and she shocked the world before. But I think in a single human being, in a measly human being's lifespan, we all get one. We all get one.
Yeah. Surely you can't do it twice.
Yeah, surely not.
I'd be amazed. I probably will flip the table this weekend if Julianna Peña goes out there and submits Kayla Harrison.
Imagine. It would be absolutely insane. Woo! All right, let's get those gauges up then and see what the crack is. I'll put the girls up down there at the bottom. And we also got Modi back for the next one as well. So do stick around. We'll be hearing more from him on the co-main event. Let's see if he's got any more outlandish takes for us. Striking on this one, I think you've got the likes of Peña, who she's got hands, she strikes, but I just find it completely unconventional. Sometimes it's almost pedestrian, but it's dangerous because it's unpredictable and it's out there. And Kayla Harrison, she punches right to the point. What's your take on it? Were you going Harrison on striking?
I don't know. Kayla's striking has been improving quite a bit. You know, I felt like it was quite impressive against Ketlin Vieira last time out. I'll probably leave that one down to the chat. What do you guys think? Who takes striking? Do you believe it's Julianna Peña or do you believe it's Kayla Harrison? Grappling wise, I think we're going to go with Kayla Harrison. Let's be real here. Be far stronger in those scenarios than Julianna Peña. Question is, if the fight draws long, is she still going to be able to have that endurance in order to stay on top in those scenarios?
I like it better than Peña's chances.
Sure.
No, actually, don't tell a lie. It was. I'm thinking back to that fight now with Amanda Nunes, and it was in the later rounds she looked good, even better. I mean, certainly for the first fight. The cardio just wasn't there with Nunes in the first fight.
No. Speed, Julianna Peña for Charles. Gotta think cardio for Julianna Peña as well.
Power.
Which brings me on to making
Kayla.
the walks chat, who says there is a timeline where Harrison's weight cut affects her in the late rounds and Peña outlasts her. I don't think we're in that timeline just yet. So welcome on the walk. Making the walk, sorry, welcome on the walk. Great take there, and yeah, is something that you have got to keep in mind. And I actually agree with you as well on that point.
You don't think that she will fade in the late rounds
this time? No, not just yet.
I think she's good on the weight cut.
So, but I think I'd still give cardio to Peña.
Okay, Peña gets cardio, and we're still yet to decipher striking. What the chat said on that one? What timeline are we in making the walk? Are we in a timeline when Kayla's got the striking or Peña?
Yeah, exactly.
Let me know. I like Kayla Harrison for it. I think I would like it just because she's Holly Holm, and then you got the likes of Ketlin Vera, and I just found it was quite poised to striking then. And I think it will be here in this one too, especially in the earlier rounds. Now we're talking about a 5-round fight. That adds a little bit of a different dynamic.
I think I'd give power to Kayla Harrison.
Power, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've not mentioned that already. George Murray says, "Dear Lord, I'm sorry for calling Harrison a bloke. Please forgive me and guide her to a knockout victory to shut up Peña up." Exactly. Like, but Julianna Peña rubs people the wrong way.
She does.
People find her really, really annoying.
She does.
People have compared her and say she's the female Bilal Muhammad, but
let's just please pray she doesn't get the mic at the end of the fight.
Yeah, that's what would worry me most.
All right. Well, striking, Kayla Harrison's going to still run away with that one, I believe. And that's probably
tough one.
Yeah. It's going to be quite an interesting one between the two. Mainly because I think cardio is going to be the main point where it's going to be contested, is where the table might shift, if that makes sense, between it being a Kayla Harrison fight or a Peña fight, and it's probably going to be who wants it most, who can strive the furthest. But look, yeah. If Peña can punch her to quitting quite early on, not Peña. If Kayla Harrison can punch Peña to quitting earlier on, then look, that would be the way I like her to get it done.
Yeah. Making the Walk says, I would say Peña's striking is better, but it's inconsequential. Peña hitting Harrison in the face is like throwing pebbles in the ocean. Like, yeah, that's a good point, actually. I think that's pretty solid, Yeah, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts, as we've kind of used that analogy before.
Yeah.
George Murray on the flip side says, Peña striking is dog poo. Her striking is like United in your... Oh.
There we go. Let's get some more. Let's get some more of that.
Great chats, guys. Great chats. Yeah, so, okay, we can debate striking for a long time.
Man United's goalkeeper's got better striking.
Yeesh.
All right. So fair enough. Then in that case, we'll conclude on the co-main event. And on the night, I'm going with Kayla Harrison. I'm thinking that's my hot take. Yep. That's how I think it's going to get done. I think she's probably even going to stop Peña within the distance, and she's going to get the mic and she's going to give it a full WWE rumble, looking down the barrel of the camera, calling out Nunes. And whether she gets Nunes or not, I think we all just want to hear it.
I just see like a Game of Thrones moment where Kayla Harrison just squeezes Julianna Peña and her headless pops off or something. Like a bit like the Mountain with Prince Oberyn, where he like squeezes his skull in. That's basically what I envision this fight going down.
Oh wow, that's graphic. That's graphic. But yeah, I want to see it.
Yeah, you can clip that up later.
Let's do it. Oh, crazy.
Right, let's go.
I got an update for you a bit later as well on some new stuff. We got some new toys on our end. But yeah, I'll update you offline a bit later. Let's get into the main event of the evening. It's one that we have seen before, but we all want to see again. And why? Because Sean O'Malley's really turned a whole new leaf. When I say leaf, I'm talking about a marijuana leaf, if you like. So he's taken a vow of celibacy in this fight, during his training camp, alongside swearing off podcasting and marijuana. He's dedicated and focused down on striking, and he's just putting out all of the stops for this rematch. He's determined to be able to stop Merab Dvalishvili, and he's looking to do it all with his hands. So look, cardio is a huge thing for Merab Dvalishvili, as we know, who is 19-4 currently in the UFC. He's the current bantamweight champion, and he's known for his relentless wrestling and cardio. Now Sean O'Malley, he's 18-2, the former champion. He's only lost to Vera, and of course the belt to Dvalishvili in his last time out. But he's a very flashy striker, and he's got this pinpoint accuracy. We've seen a lot of his training earlier this week. He's released some footage. He looks exciting. He looks on point. He looks really sharp. But does he have what it takes to be able to do it this time around? Watching that first fight, Jordan, what do you think the main thing that O'Malley needed to work on in order to actually have a bit more of a look in this time around? What do you think that would be?
Well, here's the thing. I think Merab's movement disrupted O'Malley a little bit, I think. And O'Malley didn't really throw as much as we thought he was going to. I think he was anticipating the takedown, don't get me wrong, but I just feel that even on the feet, Merab just looked the quickest. His entries were just slick and at the right moments. I think O'Malley, I can't remember if whether it was his coach or him himself said that there may have been some problems in that fight camp. He didn't have a great fight camp leading to that fight.
Of course.
Whatever the
riddled with excuses.
Exactly. There's that, and then you've got the fact he's quit smoking, and apparently today he said has nothing to do with a fight, whatever. And he's also not dyeing his hair as well. So in a way, it's like a Sean O'Malley gone woke, but at the same time, is dyeing your hair pink not quite woke. So I don't know where I kind of sit with that at the moment. For me, this fight, I think it's going to be the same as the last one, in my opinion. Merab, that fight against Umar Nurmagomedov, Merab did a lot better than I think a lot of people thought. And that was really his toughest test to date. The problem with Merab, I feel, that is if he was to have a downfall at all during his title reign, it would be a period of fight where maybe he's just not as motivated anymore. You know, and maybe some showboating might happen, and he just lapse of concentration, and O'Malley catches him. You know, I'm still going to ride on this Sean O'Malley flying knee knockout this time around. You know, it's what I envisioned in the first fight, which didn't materialize. And it's funny.
He was looking too far, and you wasn't looking far enough into. He was looking too far in the future with that prediction.
No, you're right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what I meant to say was going to happen in the second fight round. And yeah, coming at a time when Aljamain Sterling, I think I saw on his social media, was telling a story about sparring with Merab, where he kind of plays possum with the body shots quite often. I think it was one of his first sparring sessions that they had. And if he's, gonna play possum and stuff like that, we've seen in the past what's happened with people who play possum, right? And what comes to mind is Chris Weidman, Anderson Silva type of scenario, and how I could see Merab losing the belt if he was to lose.
You think he could probably? Yeah, it's just his childish behavior, and he does like to be a bit playful, doesn't he? And
if he's like 3 rounds up and he knows it, he might just start to do that. You know, we've seen him he was trolling O'Malley in the octagon. And
Henry Cejudo
grappling,
picks him up.
Henry Cejudo picking him up,
runs him across there.
He's prone to doing it. So.
But he needs to have fun in there. You know, he's the kind of guy, he has more fun as the fight goes along, and he enjoys himself. And as the other fighter gets fatigued and exhausted, he kind of like steps into like the playground. He's very well known for his suffocating pressure and his ability to just kind of mitigate all obstacles or dangers on his opposition side because of his grappling. But then, you got Sean O'Malley, who's promised to be a better striker this time around, and I just wonder if is that the right thing to work on? Is that the thing that you need to be focusing on? If I'm a Dvalishvili, I'm kind of having a bit of a off on pressure. I'm going to let Sean O'Malley come to me because he's not going to expect that, and then also I'm going to switch the direction up and come towards him and take him down, and I'm not going to be fully coming forwards all the way because. Yeah, I think Sean O'Malley's expecting the same fight as last time, and he's probably
I think that's a solid point. I think that's quality actually.
He's going to have to give something different.
For sure.
Could be dangerous. But still, were you excited for this rematch, or did you want to see something else?
At the time, I wasn't excited for it at all. No, because I feel like it is. Rinse and repeat. But now when I'm looking into it, I'm thinking, I can get up for this kind of fight. How can I complain? We got 2 pay-per-views this month, so I'd take this over any of the other fight or last weekend's fight night for sure. So standards are quite low. The bar's quite low at the moment after last week.
No, it should be good. It should be good, and I'll get the gauges up while you get some of the chats up. But
so. George says it's all love, JK. I did give Sai a bit of banter, but you didn't read it. Oh, okay. No, he did say Sai sitting on the fence so hard his ass got splinters. Making the walk says grappling, endurance, and always being a threat are the things I hope he focused on. I think that O'Malley was only a threat out in space, and Merab quickly eliminated that. Yeah, spot on there. You know, the fact he was able to keep that pressure on O'Malley the whole time, and the feints he was doing. Well,
it made
it was a flawless game plan from Merab.
Yeah, it was. It made him dangerous. It's almost like you're almost thinking, what can he do differently this time? Is he going to bring the same game plan and just risk getting caught? Or is he going to mix it up and do something a bit different? And if so, what is he going to bring to the table? What? All right, let's have a look at the gauges and find out who's going to have the advantages and where. So striking, I think even in the last one we had... Actually, before I do, we should probably... Sorry, Moddy. Didn't mean to miss you out on this one. We should,
play the clip.
We should probably roll the clip, shall we?
Yeah,
let's see what Moddy had to say about it.
This time around, do you think that Sean O'Malley has got what it takes to stuff takedowns and deal with Merab's pressure?
In my honest opinion, obviously, I thought Merab fought extremely well. I feel like just that style and his gas tank and the way he's just like such forward pressure with that wrestling, I feel like I don't know who Sean has to imitate that type of style. Obviously, Sean's like made a load of changes. You know, he's talked about obviously not smoking weed. Being a lot more disciplined in his fight camp. He's got insane striking, but will he be able to keep the distance against Merab? Because as soon as Merab gets his hands on you, I mean, you can see he does it to the best of them. So, in my opinion, I think Merab will continue to be the champion.
Wow. There it is. Merab continues to be the champion. Great take, actually. Was that controversial, do you reckon? I don't know. With this one, it's really hard to pick because you can look at Sean O'Malley, who just needs to catch you. And then you've got the likes of Merab, who just needs to survive. And that's the way either of these guys will win. And it still kind of puts it down to what are the chances, and it's difficult to stay safe for 5 rounds, especially against someone who's precise as Sean O'Malley. But no, great take there from Waddy. And I think it kind of wraps up what I was going to ask next in terms of who gets the striking advantage. That would go to the good old Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, I'll still give Sean striking, even though we think Merab was a problem on the feet for Sean that last time out. Grappling easy to Merab, without doubt.
Yeah.
The main focus in that last fight. Power's an interesting one.
I think Sean O'Malley for me. If you look on paper as well, it'll support that.
It was probably the same when you guys did the breakdown last time, to be fair. Speed.
Sean O'Malley gets speed. And then cardio would be all day long, Merab.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the hardest one to call in that one, it might actually be speed, you know.
You think so?
Yeah.
I know Sean to be pretty rapid, and I
feel like it's similar to the Bautista versus Patchy mix kind of fight, really.
Okay.
Because you got O'Malley, who's kind of waiting. He's more of a counter striker. He's waiting for you to engage first, similar to Mix. Whereas Merab, he's going to be the one who's in your face, looking to put punching combinations together and level change at the right time. Similar to what I think Bautista might do to Mix, perhaps. So.
Fair enough. I reckon. No, it's a good point. However, I think if we did have a gauge which looked at the X factor that these fighters are bringing to the octagon, which you can't really quantify, or maybe you can quantify this one, it would just be relentless pressure. And I think that's something that we haven't talked about in this so far, which would be in favor of Merab Dvalishvili, that relentless pressure.
Yeah, and it's how you deal with it at the same time. And
you can't
I still
refocus,
go back to the Jose Aldo fight. I think if you are a technical striker who can land the big shots but keep the fight on your feet, and you've got excellent takedown defense,
it kind of doesn't.
You have a chance.
But it kind of doesn't matter if your opponent is always on you and you don't have that space to work, you know? And that's kind of like, if you look at rock, paper, scissors, that's kind of like the rock to scissors, pressure to striking. That's how they kind of follow each other. And yeah, but then that kind of leads me back on the point I made earlier, is can Merab afford to just rinse and repeat the same strategy, knowing Sean O'Malley has probably played out that scenario a million and one times and has the answer for that particular game plan.
Yeah, he needs to stay a step ahead of him in the preparation for sure, and I think that's probably what it's gonna come down to, perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps so. But on the night, where are you going to go? You're going to stick to your previous prediction, or you glance into the future universe?
Oh, it's fine. Knockout, hands down.
Okay.
Yeah. Sean O'Malley's getting it done.
Okay.
Everyone, the odds are stacked against him. Really, everyone's expecting Merab to go out there and do exactly the same. And look, don't get me wrong. All right, totally different fight. We was all expecting Bilal Muhammad to go out there and take down Jack Della Maddalena, and he was going to absolutely dominate him.
I mean,
similar scenario here. We're all expecting the same outcome as before and exactly the same fight. Leans into a knockout win for the other guy, doesn't it?
That's interesting, actually. That's really interesting. The reason being is, do you think, who was we talking to about it recently? I think I was sitting down with a UFC fighter a week before last. Was it Billy Goff or perhaps it was...
or Carl Propellic, either one of those.
Yeah, I think I was talking about the next best thing to be coming out of Canada, or the new problems in the division. And we were just asking, is Sambo style wrestling still going to be so dominant, or are we going to start to see the likes of different champions with different skill set accolades taking a mantle? Because before it was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, BJJ was what was holding the top mantle. Now you're seeing Sambo style wrestlers kind of being up there and being the problem people don't have an answer to. But do you reckon striking could be the, JDM stepped into his glory? Do you reckon
the prime example of that is Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya making the walk over from kickboxing and then just winning belts in such quick succession. So I guess there has been that element of it, and sure enough, in time we're gonna be faced with people who are just well-rounded.
Yeah,
no?
I mean, it's no doubt we've seen evolutions over the last 3 years, 4 years, with the talent and the fighter nerd stepping into the UFC as well. Like it's been really, really exciting, different styles of talent of fighters we've seen as of late. So yeah, maybe we can see different styles at the top, and Samurai wrestling may have had his time perhaps, but then I'll believe that more if Sean O'Malley gets a job done against Dvalishvili. For now, I'm sticking with Dvalishvili for this one. I think it's just gonna be the same. And do you know what? I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad about that. If Dvalishvili was to keep the belt, wouldn't even be mad.
George Murray says, gonna be the same as every Merab. As much as I want to bet against him, he's a concrete blanket and will just dominate the wrestling. Sure won't have gained more wrestling defense in the last year. Very good point, George, we didn't mention. He also says the way JK looks up to Modi, Puss in Boots moments. You are what, guys? They done me dirty with that camera angle. That's all I'm going to say.
The sideways one.
Yeah, it makes Modestus look way taller than he actually is. He's not that tall. I'm telling you now. And I'm not that small. So
he's a big man.
Yeah, he's a big guy, but
Next time, we'll put you on the stool.
We'll put me on a bench. Put me on a bench. Making the Walk says, I don't think Merab can rinse and repeat the same strategy. Sean and Tim Welch are too smart for that. O'Malley has a Darce or Gilly he could throw out there too. Yeah, we didn't exactly see. I can't remember there was much attempts in that first fight, but yeah, you're right. Sean's got some perhaps underrated jiu-jitsu that we've not really seen in MMA. But yeah, if he pulls out some more jits in his fights, then maybe people think that there's a possibility there.
Yeah. Well, that I guess wraps up the last fight of the card as well. If I have a quick glance over at the odds, it does seem to be in favour. My eyes aren't that good. Yeah, just in favour of Merab Dvalishvili to get the job done, but also, look, it's close because Sean O'Malley is very dangerous. You got that wrestling style, suffocating grappling, and then you've got that promised striking. Is promised to be sharper than ever, but which is going to prevail on the night? That's going to be the big and main question. But either way, I think the biggest winner on the night, as always, is going to be us, the fans. who are going to be watching it this weekend. And us over at ATF are going to be giving you the full watch-long experience. So for the main event, as it happens, chime on in to the UFC Against Defense channel. It's not, it's not Against Defense UFC channel. The socials are running just up there in the corner of the screen. You can follow all of that action as well. Do like and do subscribe. Before you go anywhere right now, like, subscribe, press those buttons, and we'll be able to see you there this weekend. But yeah, we've got a lot more content coming because we've got other fighters to be recording in this week alone, and to make sure that you guys do have that bell rung so you get to see more content which is to come outside of these weekly events that we do. Absolutely. All right, guys, that's all for now. Love, peace, chicken grease.
See you this weekend. Watch along. Be there.